was late in the afternoon when I heard a soft knock on my apartment door. I wasn't expecting anyone, but when I opened it, my neighbor was standing there, slightly flushed, with a mischievous glint in her eyes. She looked hesitant, like she had rehearsed what to say 100 times but still couldn't find the right words. "Can you kiss me so I can see?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I blinked, trying to process her request. My mind raced with questions, and yet there was a strange calm in her tone, a confidence that clashed with her shy expression. "You'll have to be convincing," I replied, trying to sound casual, though my own heart skipped a beat. She smiled slightly, biting her lower lip, and I felt a sudden awareness of the tension building between us. There was something playful in her daring, but also an intensity that made it impossible to treat lightly. It wasn't just a joke or a dare, it was a test, and somehow I was willing to play along. We moved closer, the space between us charged with unspoken anticipation. I could feel her energy, nervous yet daring, and it made my own nerves hum in response. I studied her face for any sign of hesitation, any indication she might back out. But her eyes held a challenge, a promise, a silent demand. "Are you sure?" I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. "Absolutely," she said, her smile growing, the corners of her eyes crinkling with excitement. I leaned in slowly, giving her space, gauging her reaction. Every second felt stretched, like the world had narrowed to this one impossible moment. My pulse quickened, my senses sharpened, and I realized that this wasn't about the kiss itself. It was about the daring, about testing boundaries, about the silent understanding that only existed between us in that instant. Her breath mingled with mine as we hovered closer. The room seemed to shrink, the outside world falling away. Time felt both immediate and suspended, and as I waited for her to truly convince me, to give herself over to the moment fully, I knew that this was the start of something unpredictable, a game neither of us had played before, and yet both of us were willing to risk stepping into. The air between us crackled with anticipation. Every tiny movement, every flicker of expression mattered. And in that tension, I realized that what we were about to do was more than just a playful challenge. It was a silent conversation, a negotiation, a test of courage and trust. The moment stretched on, thick with anticipation. She stepped slightly closer, her eyes never leaving mine. There was a nervous energy in her movements, but also a daring confidence, as if she had been waiting for this exact test all along. I could feel my pulse quicken, every sense alert to the subtle cues in her body language. "Convince me," I whispered, my voice low, teasing but serious. She smiled, a small, almost shy curve of her lips, and then tilted her head, leaning just slightly into me. The air between us vibrated with tension, charged by the unspoken challenge we had set. Every tiny movement mattered. The lift of her chin, the shift of her weight, the way her breath hitched when I mirrored her closeness. "Is this convincing enough?" she asked softly, her voice barely audible. "You'll have to do more than ask," I replied, keeping my tone steady despite the heat rising inside me. For a moment she froze, as if weighing her options, then laughed lightly, a sound that was nervous, playful, and somehow thrilling all at once. It was the kind of laugh that could break the tension and heighten it at the same time. She leaned closer, closer than before, until I could feel the warmth radiating from her. Her eyes locked with mine, daring me, coaxing me, and challenging me to respond. It wasn't just about a kiss anymore, it was a game of trust, a delicate dance of hesitation and boldness. I mirrored her movement, closing the space slowly, giving her the chance to pull back, to stop if she wanted. But she didn't. Instead, she pressed a little closer, her gaze softening yet still challenging. Her lips were just inches from mine, and the world seemed to narrow until nothing existed but the two of us, the unspoken challenge and the tension hanging thick between our bodies. "Now?" she whispered, teasing, her voice trembling slightly. "Show me," I said, letting the words hang like a dare in the quiet room. She smiled again, and in that moment everything else faded. Time slowed, the outside world disappeared, and there was only the electricity between us, the thrill of the challenge, and the delicate line we were both walking. It wasn't just about desire, it was about daring, about testing limits, about trust, and the quiet excitement of stepping into something unpredictable together. Every heartbeat echoed in my chest. Every subtle breath, every movement mattered. And as she finally tilted her head toward me, ready to convince me fully, I realized that this moment would be etched in memory, a silent, electric test that neither of us would forget. The space between us seemed to shrink until it was almost non-existent. Her eyes searched mine, looking for permission, for confirmation, for some silent acknowledgement that we were both ready. I could feel her breath on my face, warm and steady, yet charged with anticipation. "I'm ready," she whispered softly. I nodded, feeling a strange calm amid the tension. Slowly, I leaned closer, giving her the control of the moment. Every second stretched out, weighted with expectation, trust, and curiosity. When our lips finally met, it wasn't rushed or frantic. It was careful, deliberate. A silent conversation in the language only the two of us understood. The first contact was electric. A spark that ran through me like lightning, sending warmth radiating through my chest. Her lips were soft, hesitant at first, then more confident, matching the rhythm of the unspoken game we had begun. It was a kiss that held questions and answers all at once. A playful challenge, a quiet surrender, a delicate exploration. When we finally pulled back, the room was still, filled only with the sound of our breathing. She looked at me with a mix of triumph and shyness, and I couldn't help but smile. "Convincing enough?" I teased, though my voice was low, intimate. "Definitely," she replied, a soft laugh escaping her lips. "I think you passed your test." We both laughed quietly, the tension easing but leaving behind a charged undercurrent, a memory of what had just occurred. It wasn't just a moment of desire. It was a moment of connection, of daring, of understanding that sometimes the smallest, boldest actions can reveal the most about two people. We stayed close for a while longer, talking softly, sharing small details, laughing at the absurdity of how a simple dare had led to this moment. The world outside didn't exist. Only the quiet apartment, our breaths, and the lingering spark between us mattered. Finally she stood, brushing her hair back and looking at me with that familiar mischievous glint. "Thanks for playing along," and she said softly. "Anytime, sir," I replied, knowing that this was just the beginning. As she left, I realized that nothing about the moment was ordinary. What had started as a playful dare had transformed into something deeper. A memory, a connection, a game we both willingly entered, and a story neither of us would forget. The air seemed lighter, the apartment quieter, but the spark lingered. And I knew that even after the door closed, the energy between us would remain, teasing, daring, and electric.